Happy Wednesday, my winners and goal getters. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Getting the Win Show. I'm your host, Mellissa T, the procrastination bully. Thanks for tuning in and welcome officially to season 3. This is the first episode of season 3. Thank you so much for rocking with the show for as long as you have. And if this is your first episode, welcome. Thanks for joining in the brand new season. Feel free, there's plenty of material to scroll through the playlist and go back to. There are a lot of helpful episodes. Today, I'm actually answering an audience question. So the purpose of today's episode is answering the question of how to schedule less and get more done. So this is the benefit of being part of the goal getters community in Telegram. If you're interested in joining that community, please shoot an email to info@melissathomas.co and write Telegram in the subject line. And I'll get you that info and get you into the community. Okay. But I've asked the community members, like, hey, what are some things you want me to talk about that we probably haven't covered on the show? What are some things you want me to get more in depth on? And this is one of those questions. Shout out to Jessica Holly. If you've been following the show, we interviewed her back in season 1. So feel free to jump back to that episode if that's something you want to hear more about. She is the founder of the Everybody Can't Go brand. She has the Everybody Can Go combos on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe over there. You can find her at Everybody Can't Go 2, the number 2. But her question was how to schedule less and get more done, because Jessica's somebody that moves very fast. Her mind moves very fast. She has a lot of ideas. She's very excited. She moves quickly, and her schedule is always full. So she wanted to work on some ways to kind of refine that, to bring herself some more sanity. So we're going to cover that in this episode. We're going to answer that question in this episode. Quick reminder, if you're here, be sure to subscribe, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon. If you're on YouTube, you can find me there at Getting the Win. And of course, follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Threads at Getting the Win Show. But just a quick reminder, if you're on YouTube, click that subscribe button and click the bell icon and click all so you can get all the notifications. Because, hey, I do community posts over there as well. You know, sharing some motivation, sharing some insights, possibly doing some polls. You never know. But anyway, just want to give that reminder at the start of the episode. So now without further ado, I'm going to dive right in. I've got 5 tips for you to schedule less and get more done. These are not necessarily in sequential order, but you'll see the connection as I go through this. So number 1 and number 2 are going to be very quick. And for the record, most of the things I'm sharing with you today are things you've likely heard before, but I'm presenting it to you as 1, a friendly reminder, and 2, as another voice in the conversation that perhaps may resonate with you. This go around, if I say it, it might just click. You know what I mean? But number 1, create a weekly schedule instead of a daily one. Usually you hear that kind of advice, right? You likely already do it. You likely schedule each day meticulously. Or, you know what I mean? You're the type of person, maybe you schedule the day at the start of your day. Perhaps you took it one step further by scheduling your day the night before. That way you set expectations, and that way you're heading into your day full speed ahead. You're not having to plan the morning of, right? The better idea, the next level up, is to instead plan out your whole week. So that's number 1. Number 2, divide up the tasks you need to do across the week. That's why I said 1 and 2 are going to be very quick, because they're connected. Divide your tasks up across the week. Like, plan out the things that you know you want to get done for the week. And that way your days aren't so crammed together, right? So shout out to Jess. She already does this. Jessica already does this. So number 3 is the part, this section here is what I'm going to spend a lot of time on. Number 3 is ruthlessly rip through your schedule. I'm going to say it again. Ruthlessly rip through your schedule. So step 1 is creating that weekly schedule. 2, spreading it out across the week. But that's more of a brainstorming kind of thing. Getting all of the things you want to get done out of your head. Just making sure they're out of your head so you don't forget anything, right? That's very important. So tip number 3 is where you start to organize everything and get down to scheduling less. Okay. So I'm going to share with you three different layers of ripping and shredding for your schedule. So layer one, this is the quick and easy way, starting with the Stephen Covey prioritization matrix. If you want that in detail, go back to season 1, episode 4. Season 1, episode 4. All right. So I talk about the prioritization matrix. 4 quadrants. Upper left is urgent and important. Those are your fires. Those are the things that are emergencies. That's category 1. Level 2 is important but not urgent. The ones over here are your needle moving activities. Lower left corner, urgent but not important. This is your optional stuff. This is stuff that you can delegate. These are niceties, nice to-dos. Quadrant 4 are hard no's because they're neither urgent nor important at all. Okay? Like you can cut those from your schedule altogether. So start with that. Like when you write out the tasks you want to get done for the week, put them up in that matrix, like categorize them, category 1, 2, 3, or 4. That's the first shaving. Now let's go to the next level. Brendon Burchard has an incredible kind of equation. It's not really an equation. I forget the mathematical term. An equation has an equal sign and like a destination kind of thing. But his formula is simply the terms of the opportunity have to be less than the output. The terms of the opportunity have to be less than the output. So to put it another way, the opportunity cost has to be less than the outcome. Okay, the opportunity cost has to be less than the outcome. So the reason I mention the word terms is because Brendon Burchard has an actual acronym with this. Your time, your energy, your resources, your money, and your sanity. TERMS. Those terms, you should be like, those terms should be outweighed by the result. Okay, so the terms of the opportunity has to be less than the result that you get. If it costs you more to get the thing done than what the output is, what the result is, it's a no. Rip it out of your schedule. Ruthlessly rip through your schedule. Rip it out of your schedule. Okay? So just the simplified version of what I just shared with you. The opportunity cost has to be less than the outcome. Or if you want to flip it, if you want to make it positive, the outcome needs to be greater than your opportunity cost, what it's going to require of you to do the thing. And if you want a recap of terms, what those mean, your time, your energy, your resources, your money, and your sanity. Okay? Run all the things on your schedule that's left after the Stephen Covey matrix. Run what's left through Brendon Burchard's formula and rip. Continue to shred. Whatever doesn't belong there, that's even less on your schedule. Here's the third layer. Here's the deepest one. This is bedrock, okay? Make sure you're clear on your core values. Whatever your non-negotiables are. And if you're not clear on them yet, establish them. Carve out time either right after you watch this video, or if you want to, you can pause the video right now and write them down. Establish what they are. And those need to be etched in stone because your core values are bedrock. Core values are that's the foundation of any decision you make. That's why I said this is level 3. This is the bottom layer for what's left. If anything that's on your schedule, anything that's left on your schedule doesn't align with your core values, it's a hard no. Not just a no, it's a hard no. Okay? Shred that stuff out of your schedule. Shred it out of your schedule. And then take what's left and divide that out across your 6 work days. if you're someone that works 6 days. Perhaps you work five. Shout out to you if you work five. If you work four, shout out to you. I'm somebody that believes in a day of rest, so I'm big on that. I work 6 days a week. My one day off is Sunday. um, but yeah, establish your core values if you haven't yet, and if you already have them, remember to use them when you're gauging what to keep and what to chop out of your schedule. That's the last one. Okay. Now, real quickly, as an aside, I want to talk a little bit about how to respectfully tell someone no. Because if you're anything like me, if you're a recovering procrastinator that is in that state because you struggle to tell people no and your schedule ends up busy because of that, what I'm about to share is likely for you. Okay. If you're someone who perhaps you're like Coach Ben Bakayoko, who I interviewed a couple episodes ago, and he was transparent. Like his schedule was busy. He didn't tell his mom no because he actually liked being needed. However, the stuff that she was asking him to do was taking time away from his needle moving activity. That's category 2 in the Stephen Covey matrix, right? Important but not urgent. It was taking time away from his needle moving activities. So I'm going to give 3 phrases, 3 different ways to slow the conversation down. That way, you're not bullied into making a decision you don't want to make, or committing to yourself to something you know doesn't serve you, or committing to something that you know for a fact is going to pack up your schedule. Remember, the goal of this is to schedule less so you get more done. So here are some effective ways to slow the conversation down or respectfully tell someone no. So the first one is more so to slow down a decision. It's not so much a hard no, it's slowing the decision down. But if they're asking you, they're presenting something to you, you can tell them, I can't commit to it right now, but if you could just shoot me an email with the details and I'll get back to you. It's pretty simple and respectful. Like, I can't make a decision right now, or I can't commit to anything right now, but just shoot me an email with the details and I'll get back to you. That way, you slow the conversation down. You're not forcing yourself into a decision, and they're not forcing you into a decision that you don't want to make or you're not ready to make wisely. That's number one. And number two, you're letting them know that you're going to give them an answer. That way they know what to expect. If they push, because some people do, they want the result, or they want what they want. You know what I mean? They want to move on to the next thing. So if you tell them you'll get back to them in an email, they might see that as a no. They might move on, or they'll push you to make a decision right then because they don't want to waste any time. Be 10 toes down with that. Repeat your answer. Like, no, I cannot make a decision right now. Send me if you want me to be part of this, send me an email with the details and I'll be back to you. Let's make sure that I'm a right fit for what you want to do. If I'm not, you move on to the next person. No problem. All of that language works. The second answer, you can say, you know what, thanks so much for thinking of me, but I can't. My plate is full right now. Unfortunately, I'm not available. My plate is full right now. That's response number 2. Thanks for thinking of me. Unfortunately, I'm unavailable right now. Response number 3 for that. The third way to respectfully separate yourself from the situation. You can say, thanks for thinking of me, but my plate is full right now. I'm unavailable for the next 90 days. Now, the difference between responses 2 and 3 there is that if you know the person you're dealing with is fast moving, they're aggressive, they're visionary, they're thinking about the future, response number 2 is more appropriate because they don't necessarily need the details. They heard their no. They're going to move on to the next person. No problem. Response number 3 is for a person that's coming to you with something that may be more detail oriented. So they'll appreciate answer number 3 because you gave them a time frame. You said, I'm unavailable for the next 90 days. So in the event that they want to circle back, if the opportunity is still available after 90 days, you've given them the chance to come back around to you. And in effect, you set a boundary. So they know not to bother you for the next 3 months. Okay? That's the beauty of answer number three. Okay, so I just wanted to go over those. And by the way, if it's something that's at work, if it's something you work a 9 to 5 and it's work related, you can tell them, like, if you need this, if this is super urgent, my plate is full right now. I won't be able to get it done urgently. You have to find someone else to do it. You'll have to find a colleague that can do it. Or you can say, you can ask, like, is this something that's urgent? Because my plate is full right now. Like, I can't get it to you today, but I can get it to you by tomorrow. Some variation of either of those sentences. Either I'm not available, if this is urgent, I'm not available, get someone else to do it. Or if it's not urgent, I can't do it right now, but I'll get it to you tomorrow. Or insert time frame here if they have time, if it's something that's not super urgent. That's important if you're someone who struggles to say no. Because I'll be honest with you, as a recovering procrastinator myself, that was a big issue for me in terms of not telling people no. One, there was the emotional part, don't want to let people down or whatever. But the biggest issue for me was the language. I didn't really know how to effectively say no without coming across as disrespectful. Because I'm somebody, you guys hear it in the way that I talk. I'm kind of blunt with the way that I communicate. So my words are not overly flowery. Okay. My voice is soft, but like the way that I talk, my stuff comes through blunt and honest. So it was very important to learn the words to use and the tone to use to respectfully and professionally tell someone that I'm not available or tell them it's a no for me. Because here's an important thing that I've learned. Shout out to Jose. He brands himself as the black dude with the Spanish name. Shout out to him. But he pointed out something so amazing back in February of this year. He said, it's easier to reverse a no into a yes than it is to turn a yes into a no. So when it comes to making decisions, start from no. That's your safe bet. Start from no. And that way, if you want to change it to a yes, if perhaps something opens up in your schedule and you're available to commit to something new, by all means, you can switch it to a yes and your yes will be welcome. But when you tell somebody yes and then you have to switch it to a no, that's when it feels kind of icky, right? And there's one other thing I want to share as it relates to core values. I want to make sure I reiterate and like deeply implant this in your mind and in your spirit. Okay? If you're someone who hasn't established your core values yet, here's why it's important that you do. If your core values are fluid, so is your decision making. I'm going to say that again. If your core values are fluid, so is your decision making. That's going to affect how you schedule out your week. And that's going to affect how often you have to change your mind or back out of stuff. Having core values develops in you a certainty, an ironclad certainty. And the way to build the muscle of certainty and let the people around you know that you mean what you say is to make more decisions, make decisions more often. There is a slight difference between those two. Make more decisions, make them more often without changing your mind. Because remember, when you make a decision, it's literally you cutting yourself off from other options. I've mentioned this in previous episodes. So when you cut yourself off from other options, there is no room to change your mind, right? When you make a decision on something, you're committed. You've made a commitment. And once you're committed and you do that more often, the people around you understand that you mean what you say. And when you say you can't do something or you're not available, they leave you alone. And when you're communicating your core values clearly, that's actually a great way to actually decrease the amount of commitments that get thrown at you, opportunities that come up that you encounter. It decreases it. Because if people are clear on what your core values are, they know what not to ask you. Okay? They know when to avoid you with something. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to share that. if your core values are fluid, so is your decision making. So make sure, if that's something you're struggling with, make sure you etch those things in stone. What your non-negotiables are, put them in stone and communicate them clearly with the people in your life, professionally and personally. It doesn't matter. People need to understand what you stand for. That way they know what to bring to you and what not to bring to you. I hope you're taking notes. You guys already know with the Get in the Wind show, you got to come with pen and paper, right? Tip number 4. Remember, I did say I was going to give you 5. So tip number 4, practice being present. Practice being present. And ask the people in your life to make you be present. This is important because if you're someone whose schedule is full, if you're the busy bee, one of two things is usually true. Obviously, there are exceptions to everything, right? But leave a comment if either one of these applies to you. If you're someone who's a busy bee kind of procrastinator, or your schedule's super packed, one of two things is likely true about you. Either you're someone who is kind of tends to be in the past, and maybe your decision making is based on avoiding repeating history, or you're risk averse because of some things that happened to you in the past, or you're on the opposite side where you're future based, fully aggressive, fully fast, lots of ideas, because your brain is always active. So you may be in the future while you're standing in the present. So here's the thing about that. It's important to be where your feet are, because especially if you have a team, you got to be able to hear what's going on from your teammates. If you're in the future for too long, you'll miss what they're telling you about now. And that's detrimental to the vision that you have for your future. So you've got to be where your feet are. And number 2, some of your teammates may need just a little time to celebrate and highlight the current wins, right? As you're moving to the future, it's important to highlight and celebrate people as you win, as you continue to stack those up toward your future, as you guys head together toward the destination. Now, if you're someone like me, who maybe you're not somebody that's aggressive, but you're someone who's very task oriented, so you just move on to the next thing simply because it's the next thing, not necessarily because you have like a bright vision in front of you, but you just want to get on to the next task. It's still important to be present and be where your feet are, to remind yourself that you the bomb. Okay? Because if you're task oriented, you're not necessarily taking the time to do that either. Talking from experience. Okay? This is not theory, this is not cap, like talking from experience. And sometimes that can deplete you emotionally. That can deplete you. And once you start becoming depleted emotionally, you deplete physically too. That follows. So be present and make sure you ask the people around you to make you be present. Because here's the other thing. If you're in the past or if you're in the future, what you're thinking about will affect your tone. And the way you say something is far more important than what you're saying. Remember, I said in one of my other episodes, to be a masterful communicator, you have to be responsible for the way the things you're saying land in the lap of the other party. The way you say something is more important than what you're saying. So if you're in either one of these places, depending on what you're seeing in your mind, that'll affect your mood. Your mood determines how you're talking to somebody. So sometimes that the people around you can shake you back to the present with the right question. Like, how are you feeling right now? Do you have a headache? Are you hungry? Are you in any pain? That's a very, caring way of saying to you, that came across kind of sharp. Or that came across kind of rude. That's a very generous way of knowing, like, oh, well, that let me back it up and re-say it. Or if you hear someone ask you this question, and shout out to L. David Harris, you guys If you guys seen any one of my two episodes with him, he's been on for episodes for seasons 1 and 2. But if you've seen either episode, that is a gentleman that is a thinker. He presented an awesome question yesterday. He said, "Whose face are you seeing on my body right now as you're talking to me?" So I'm presenting that to you in terms of practicing being present, in terms of the way you communicate with others. Whose face are you seeing when you talk to them? So practice being present. You're probably like, what does that have to do with, shredding my schedule, scheduling less to get more done? In the process of scheduling less and getting more done, you're likely going to be communicating with people. Especially once you really ruthlessly rip through the schedule, you're going to start making calls to tell people no, right? So it's important to be present in those conversations. That way, what you say comes across respectfully. You're not in the future foreseeing a catastrophe, and you're not in the past lamenting a catastrophe that already happened. Masterful communication is being responsible for how your words land in the lap of the other party. Okay? So, number 5, I have a journal. It's called the Procrastinator's Journal, okay? Write the ideas, feelings, and rants out of your head. That's the purpose of it. Now, here's the tip. You don't have to buy my journal, but you have to have a journal. That's the tip there. Because if you're someone with this issue where your schedule's really full, you're also likely thinking about a whole lot of things. Like your brain is noisy. So the key is to reduce the noise, which is what the journal is for. Capture your thoughts in the journal. Because remember, when you get pulled away by an idea, it takes you a whole 23 minutes to get back into focus. I mentioned this back in season 1. It takes 23 minutes to get back into focus and back in the rhythm of what you were doing. So the key, each time you sense a distraction, or while you're at the beginning of the week figuring out what your schedule is going to be, have a journal. Have a journal. Write that stuff out and seal your thoughts within the pages. Even if you don't want mine, Jessica has one. This is Jessica's. Write the Vision, Make It Plain journal, okay? But have a journal that you're using to capture all your thoughts and ideas and to rip through the schedule. Use a red pen when you do it. Like when you're using the Stephen Covey matrix, write your categories in red and then slash. Whatever doesn't belong, slash it in red so you can visually see it. Like, okay, I don't need to be doing this. It's in red. Like it's slashed in red. Okay, eliminated, right? So once you use the matrix, you're slashing. You write that stuff down. Using the Brendan Burchard formula, opportunity cost has to be less than the outcome. Slash, right? Slash that stuff in red. And then, of course, your core values. Whatever doesn't align with your core values, slash. Put that in red. So I have a friend of mine who this past Monday was sharing all of her different ambitions, the things she has in her mind. There was a lot there. She had like 6 or 7 things that, she was juggling around in there. And so I shared with her, listen, lay all of those things out and then separate them by passions and gifts and what works in the marketplace. Your passions are for you. Your gifts are the things you give away. Your gifts are meant for other people. You give them away, it's external. Your passions are for you. Those are your life-giving activities. Those are your outlets. That's your way to self-regulate. Your passions are the way that you self-regulate, right? But pick one thing. I said, pick one thing to focus on that's viable in the marketplace. List out all the ones that you think are viable in the marketplace, but pick one and focus on that one thing. And here's the importance of that. Focus on one thing, completing it successfully. The key is to complete it successfully. So you've likely heard, the one thing, the book, you've likely heard of that book, or you've likely even read it. And you might be somebody that's multi-hyphenate, like multi-passionate. Like, what you mean I gotta focus on one thing? I love multiple things, and I'm skilled at multiple things. That's okay. Here's what I mean by that. I'm not saying you can't pursue the other things. I'm saying complete one thing successfully. That way you learn all the mistakes and you become who you need to be in the process. Like you sharpen yourself. You have greater personal growth in the process. That way you can apply all of that to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. If you study any successful person, any successful corporation, they focus on one thing, made that successful, and then they went to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. They systematize their success. So the reason I'm saying focus on the one thing is so that you can systematize your success. That way you can copy it and apply it to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing for as many passions as you have, for as many skill sets as you have. And that way, when you focus on one thing, your schedule can be more concentrated as well. Even if you're someone who feels odd or awkward when your schedule has more breathing room, like you just don't feel right, like you have to accomplish and accomplish and accomplish. Even in that, even with that kind of mindset, having the breathing room in your schedule so you can focus on the one thing helps you task stack. It helps you habit stack and task stack as it relates to the one thing so you can get to that successful destination faster. So you can complete the thing much faster than if your attention is divided and you're focused on multiple different things and having to do these 3 things for this person, 5 things for that person, 7 things for this person, and 0 things for you. No, like be successful at one thing, close it out completely so that you can systematize your success, go from one to the other, to the other, to the other. Because if you watch my Ben Bakayoko interview, that 2-part interview, one of the important things he shared was consistency is 3 to 4 months. You're counted as consistent if you're doing something for 3 to 4 months. And then you've mastered something after between 10 and 20 years when you're doing it for 10 to 20 years. The point there is laser focus concentration. And then when you find a thing that works, ride it till the wheels fall off. If it's working, don't change it. We've seen a lot of corporations make that mistake. Like they'll switch it up just for the sake of experimentation, perhaps based on some studies they've done, cultural studies they've done, and then they try something that flops and then they have to move on to the next thing. If something's working, don't break it. Chick-fil-A is known for chicken sandwiches. And if you've seen their chicken sandwiches, they're not particularly magnificent, but it's consistent. You see the difference? Not magnificent, but consistent. If you go there for chicken sandwich, you know exactly what you're getting. A soft bun that's usually kind of wet because it's very moist. You're getting some pickles and you're getting a chicken patty and your choice of sauces and excellent customer service. That is what you're getting. And of course, the iconic waffle fries. You know what to expect because it's consistent. And it's consistent because they know it works. So same for you, even with your schedule in terms of ripping through it. If you want to add some more, if you want to fill in some of those gaps, task stack as it relates to the one thing you're focused on. Get more done in terms of moving the needle for that one thing, as opposed to dividing yourself up among your passions, among 5 of them, 4 of them, whatever. Your passions are for you. Your gifts you give to other people. They're external. They're meant for others, not for you. And then narrow in on what works in the marketplace, what can make you money. Make sure it aligns with your core values. If it doesn't align with the core values, it's a hard no. So I just want to make sure that you get all of this. One last recap, because I said 5 things and I gave you a bonus tip at the end there. So 5 things: create a weekly schedule and divide it up. Divide all your tasks up across the week. So when I say weekly schedule, start it from Sunday, like plan it out from Sunday. That way you're giving yourself breathing room the entire week. You're not having to wake up each morning and create a fresh new schedule. or even devise a schedule each night. Start from Sunday, whether that's towards the beginning of the day or towards the end of the evening. Schedule out your whole week. That reduces your stress levels already. And then from there, as you divide all your tasks up across the week, start chopping, starting with the Stephen Covey matrix, and then opportunity cost versus outcome, more shaving there. And then the bottom level, that bedrock level, is core values. And run this back in terms of how to say no if you need the language on how to respectfully and professionally say no. Okay? Because once you start shredding stuff, you're going to have to communicate with the people that asked you to do the stuff, right? You have to tell them no. So that was 3. 4, practice being present. That way you communicate clearly. Don't dwell in the past too much. Don't dwell in the future too much either. Have your time where you schedule time for thinking and casting your vision and coming up with ideas. It's important to carve out time to do that each day, but don't stay there. You still have to be where your feet are. That way you're communicating clearly and effectively. Number 5, get a journal and write all your stuff in there. All of your ideas, all of your rants, all of your dreams. If you have dreams that you think there were great ideas in them, you wake up in the morning and jot them down. By the way, I learned this. Shout out to Lisa A. Smith. We interviewed her back in season 1 as well, or I believe season 2. No, season 1. But she says drinking 25 to 30 ounces of water 30 minutes after you wake, within 30 minutes of waking up, actually helps your memory. So if you had a dream the night before and you're trying to recall it, drinking the water actually helps you remember it. So that's a bonus tip right there. Bonus. But have a journal to write that stuff, to empty your head, make space in your head so that new and fresh ideas can flow. New and fresh questions can flow. Because as Dr. Myron Golden says, the mind is a problem-solving mechanism. You're designed to solve problems. That's what you're wired to do, right? So make sure your mind has enough space to let those ideas flow through you and seal them within the pages. That way they're down to size and you can develop them as you wish. You can give yourself the time to develop them, because the longer they stay trapped up here, the bigger they get. The bigger and more distorted they get. So that's the recap of the 5. That other bonus tip, focus on successfully completing one thing. That way you can systematize your success and then repeat it in the next venture and the next venture and the next venture. And then that bonus just now, drink 25 ounces of water within 30 minutes of waking up. That helps your memory recall. Plus it's just good for the body. It's just great. It keeps your mind sharp, plus it's good for your body. Okay. I know that was a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions for me, put them in the comments, or you can DM me on Instagram. You can find me there at Getting the Win Show. You can also find me on Pinterest and Threads at those handles at Getting the Win Show, and subscribe on YouTube at Getting the Win. And of course, since we're talking about shredding the schedule, you see the shirt I got on? No is a complete sentence. All right. It's important to say no. And as you heard me mention, shout out again to Jose. It's a lot easier to reverse a no, to switch that to a yes, than to flip a yes to a no. Okay. So approach all your decisions with a no. Put it up against those 3 layers. Then if you want to flip it to a yes, you can. And a quick reminder one more time, if you're interested in joining the Goal Getters community, you can email info@melissathomas.co and put Telegram in the subject line. And we'll get you in there. All right. In the meantime, have a great rest of your Wednesday and a great rest of your week. Let's continue to confront and complete our luxury items. If you have any questions and any help, hit me up. Peace. Beat procrastination with an attitude. Go to gettingthewingear.com. You got shirts that deliver that message of your strong focus and dedication to your hashtag luxury item, because your goal is super important. You are super important, and it's important that the world knows that you know that. Give them the message of focus, of self-work, of self-improvement and empowerment. Go to gettingthewingear.com. Check out the shirts, sweats, mugs, bags if you need it, and give yourself that reminder, give the world that reminder that you are indeed a goal getter. You are indeed a winner.